all very nervous heading into the summer about where would our U.S. men's national team players land in this critical World Cup year. Would we get our key players getting playing time in certain situations? And everyone was up for discussion, really, right? From the best, Christian Pulisic, to the guys that maybe are not in the heat of the discussion. But things have gone pretty well. When you look at the goalkeepers landing in the championship, Matt Turner starting a game for Arsenal in these preseason friendlies. Not that he's going to start, but Stefan and Horvath, the Slonina situation, we'll see if that gets resolved. Optimistic situations for Daryl Dike, Josh Sargent, Ricardo Pepi. But what about the guy at the very top? Christian Pulisic. What about him? The guy that we've talked about more than anyone else here on every U.S. platform. What is going to happen to him? Well, we're going to discuss that here today on the Soccer OG. Check out the Soccer OG podcast where all podcasts are available. Vote for the Soccer OG. We're currently in second place in the voting for best soccer podcast on World Soccer Talk. Go to worldsoccertalk.com. We're second, a distant second, but keep voting. I've been blown away how many people have checked in. You know, I've massaged a few people to make sure they voted. But vote. worldsoccertalk.com. Check it out. And check out the Soccer OG podcast. Big plans this year. And like and subscribe here on YouTube. So what happens to Christian Pulisic? Nobody has been a more vocal challenger of his time at Chelsea. I've said, get out of there. Go away. But when I say that, I take it with a grain of salt because I know it's not that easy. Christian Pulisic is on great money. And one thing that you have to know about athletes that make great money, in case you don't know, and I'm sure you do, is that when they're making great money, they can get very comfortable with that. You don't want to lose great money. You don't want to make less money under any circumstances. Any agent would tell you, you or I in his boat, if they said you're making $1 million here, but you could make $900,000 here and play more, you go, I want to make $1 million. I would say I'd want to make $1 million. You would say you'd want to make $1 million, right? So money is a big factor here, and his transfer fee and what would be required to leave Chelsea and his wages come into view. And when we look at what's happening, there's not a big market for Christian Pulisic, frankly, right? It's not his fault. He's a talented player. A lot of clubs would have him. But you want to keep him at a standard. You want to keep him at one of the 20 top clubs in the world. And that's why when there's conversations of him going somewhere, it's Bayern Munich or Barcelona or Juventus. There's a big drop-off. Remember, there was Genoa was a possible destination. They got relegated. No, he can't. It's a crazy conversation about, does he stay there? And I've been a proponent about, you know me, get your minutes. Minutes. Zach Steffen is better at Middlesbrough getting minutes than he is at Manchester City. I will die on that hill. Christian Pulisic's a little different. And you want to be at a club where it's positive, where he is playing important games, more as an offensive player, right? I think as a goalkeeper, you want to be with a not so great team because you want to face chances. You want to face shot after shot after shot. But with Christian Pulisic, you want to keep that standard. It would be a shock to the system if he left Chelsea to go to a Genoa or a Crystal Palace or a Union Berlin. So we got to get used to the fact that he's staying at Chelsea. New American ownership, co-ownership. And it's really, the ball is in his court. But as I look a little bit closer, there is an opportunity here. And Chelsea are on a U.S. tour preparing for the season. Their first game was on Saturday night in Las Vegas. By the way, we should have had Las Vegas as a World Cup host. I'm arguing with people on Twitter, and they're like, Las Vegas is the worst place on earth. I go, I don't like Las Vegas. I do. I like going once in a while. I haven't gone in years. Well, I went a couple of years ago. I don't go. I don't crave going. But I know it's certain American about it that would, when you think of a World Cup, you think of those venues. When I think of the 94 World Cup, I think of the Pontiac Silverdome in Michigan. That was very American. That reminded you that it was an American World Cup. So a game in Las Vegas certainly would do that, but that's water under the bridge. But Chelsea beat Club America in a friendly there to start off their North American tour. Christian Pulisic came on in the second half. A lot of the big players for Chelsea came on in the second half, and they looked much better in the second half. The first half was awful to watch. Second half, things were clicking. Christian Pulisic looked like he was shot out of a cannon. He was going everywhere. He was making a decoy run. He was getting touches. He was connecting the play. He was getting 2 or 3 chances. And he has to finish those chances. It's a friendly. So I am not looking at this and amplifying what happened in Las Vegas as any indicator for a verdict on Christian Pulisic. But he looked really good. He was very active. He combined well. He played with Mason Mount. He played with a lot of the key players, Marcos Alonso and these guys for Chelsea. That tells you that he has a shot here, but the ball is in his court. And I know I'm doing a what any on this, but the reality is there's not a market for him. So I was watching, Football Americas with Herculez Gomez and Sebastian Salazar, and they had Giorgio Chiellini. And they asked him, what do you think about these rumors of Christian Pulisic to Juventus? Giorgio Chiellini, who is embedded with that club and as honest as they come, said to them, this is the first time I heard about it. We've seen other moves about going to Barcelona as part of a package deal, and they don't want him. Not because they don't want Christian Pulisic. They don't want to be, burdened with the financial part of it, and that's acceptable. There's not a market for Christian Pulisic with this price point, and that's not going to budge. So when you look at it closer, you've really got to make do with what it is. The one club was Juventus, but when I hear Giorgio Chiellini say that's the first time he heard about it, and these rumors are pretty gilt-edged. You hear about them and they come to fruition. There's been nothing about Christian Pulisic to Juventus. It would have happened or close to happened already. I don't know if that's... I don't know. The only club that clearly wants to have Christian Pulisic right now, under the circumstances, at this price point, is Chelsea. So we've got to look at Chelsea because he's going to start the season at Chelsea. Something crazy would have to happen for Christian Pulisic to get on a transfer. We're not hearing it from his camp. We're not hearing about a displeasure. We hear blips and things here, but nothing concrete that makes you say he's really unhappy, he wants to leave Chelsea. And do you want to leave Chelsea? This is a club with a very high standard. This is a club that gets you Champions League football. This is a club that gets you trophies. So you have to make the best of it. Now let's look at what Chelsea did in the offseason. Everyone was rumored to come. Rafinha, it's good that he didn't go there. He's going to Barcelona. Chelsea got Raheem Sterling, which seems like a direct competitor to the position that Pulisic plays. But Pulisic can do a few things with Chelsea. With Romelu Lukaku leaving, that's a positive for Christian Pulisic because he played that position. I think Raheem Sterling is going to play some sort of middle-of-the-park 9 for Chelsea. And that's a great upgrade. He's better than Romelu Lukaku. He's better than Christian Pulisic playing that position. Raheem Sterling in 2020 had the best season on the planet at Manchester City. It was remarkable. We can argue about this, but the numbers don't lie. And I know it was Manchester City, but if it was that easy, everyone would do it. I watched a lot of the Premier League, and watching Raheem Sterling that year was mind-blowing. He was that good. So I think Raheem Sterling can play a different position. So what else do you have? Now, they've added Koulibaly as a defender. I know Chelsea are still going to be active. But this is the crux of the roster, right? Romelu Lukaku's on loan to Inter. He's not coming back to Chelsea. So you have Kai Havertz, Callum Hudson-Odoi, Mason Mount, Christian Pulisic, Timo Werner, Hakim Ziyech, and Raheem Sterling. So 7 guys there. Where does Christian Pulisic fall in the pecking order? Mason Mount, I think we can agree, is kind of an untouchable, but he played with Christian Pulisic. They look great in that America game. Those guys are best buds. Heath Pierce had an interview with Mason Mount. Chelsea's touring the United States, and he talked about the closeness to Christian Pulisic. Christian Pulisic is a legit Chelsea player. He is embedded with that club. So who does he have to beat out? He is not going to be a 90-minute player, but he can play every game, whether it's 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 90 minutes on occasion. How does he fit in? So Pulisic was right-footed. He lined up on the left side a lot for Chelsea. So again, a player who is versatile. Not everyone's that way. I think Ziyech was off the back wheel of this team. I think he remains that way. Timo Werner scored a goal, but I think he's going to compete with Raheem Sterling. So Havertz and Pulisic and Callum Hudson-Odoi seem to be that platoon. And if I was Christian Pulisic and I was told that you have to compete against those 2 guys, I would feel pretty good about myself. I should be able to beat those guys. I'm not saying he does. But it's a better opportunity here than if he went to, say, Juventus and had to compete there, because Juventus is doing an overhaul. And they have not made an indicator that they're doing backflips to bring him there. So Christian Pulisic, Chelsea is his best bet. And based on everything we've seen, that's where he's going to end up. Do we agree with that? If someone has a better option, please tell me, because I don't see it. He's not going to a lower division or a mid-table club or MLS. At some point, I will tell you this, an MLS club is going to offer Christian Pulisic the sun and the moon. And he's going to come to MLS, and he's going to be the number 1 earner because he's American. So a club is going to offer him that. Let's say it's the Philadelphia Union, which is his hometown team. I'm not saying it's going to be that club, but that is in the works, the way Major League Soccer is growing. But that should be down the road. With the World Cup here, Christian Pulisic has to get games and has to get minutes. It's a big risk because, look, we've talked about Brendan Aronson going to a better situation, Tyler Adams, the goalkeepers. A lot of these players are going to get more minutes. Daryl Dike, Ricardo Pepi dedicating themselves to their clubs where they got more minutes. Christian Pulisic, it's a gamble. And we know with Thomas Tuchel, it never was perfect. But Thomas Tuchel, with the roster he has, if Christian Pulisic works his tail off and stays healthy, has to be a factor. I tend to think that it would be Havertz, Sterling, and Pulisic. I doubt he starts at the beginning of the year, but I see him coming off the bench and then possibly competing for that starting position as well. Sterling's out of his depths, in my estimation. Mount is probably as well, but that's it. All these other players, Christian Pulisic can touch. So we'll follow this Chelsea tour. We'll see how he plays. I think it's off to a very positive start based on what I've seen. And it's pretty clear to me this is where Christian Pulisic will play in 2022, leading up to the biggest moment of his life, the World Cup in Qatar. Agreed? Maybe not. Check out the Soccer OG podcast where all podcasts are available. Like and subscribe us here. We'll be here for the rest of 22. We're not going anywhere. Thanks for the votes. Vote on World Soccer Talk for the Soccer OG podcast. We're in this together.